Hey there, Blade fans. OG Blade Reviews with you once again. Here I am. I often say that we have something special for you today. I do believe that this is special in many regards because it's the largest thing I've attempted to place on the tabletop here at my reviewing station. Probably ever, other than maybe one or two traditional Filipino weapons, large fixed blades. But what is this, you may ask, before we unsheath it? This is from North Mountain Blade. It is the Chop Plus 15-inch, that is overall, classic Japanese Tanto tactical knife in SLD Magic and Black G10. Hell of a description, huh? And here's a little bit of their description of it. You can freeze frame that if you want. I would simply say that this is mostly a traditional Tanto with a little bit of embellishment from modern combat style knives. Isn't that a beauty? I mean, really, absolutely a beauty. I like it because we've got a merger going on between the traditional and the modern. First of all, let's take a look at the edge. Yes, that's an etched likeness of a hamon. A hamon is the temper line on a traditional Japanese katana, or a sword, or wakizashi, and tantos as well. But this is not representative of a temper line as much as it is kind of the demarcation in the SLD Magic 3-layer steel. If you look really carefully here, and I'm not sure I can really show it to you, you can see that central layer. I'm not going to have much success in showing that to you, however, which is why they kind of demarcated it on the edge. But the grind is exquisite. This is a hollow grind and a flat grind up here at the near chisel point. We're going to do a lot of compares coming up because a lot of folks who haven't been introduced to Japanese weaponry will look at, for instance, the well-known cold steel Tanto and say, well, that's a Tanto, and if it doesn't look like that, it's not a Tanto. Well, Lynn Thompson used the Japanese Tanto and swords as a starting point and created his own version with that heavily chiseled and a little less acute point. But it's nice in what they did here, what North Mountain did is polish the core area there and bead blast the rest of it. And it kind of comes through in waves, almost as if they used a bead blast gun and ran it across here while maybe the blade was taped. I'm not really sure of their manufacturing process, but they do an exquisite job. If we didn't even look at the handle, or excuse me, at the blade, and we looked at the handle, what you see here is a heavily textured G10 that has been further sculpted with kind of a rock pattern and some indents here for the finger. It holds extremely well with just enough left over for a very large hand. And no, I wouldn't use that choil as a finger choil. I would call it more a sharpening choil because you're going to nick your finger on that heel of the blade there. What we have for markings is North Mountain's logo there, and a chop on this side. What a chop is a traditional Japanese or Chinese stamp indicating a maker's name usually. And in this case, those two characters likely stand for North Mountain, although I do not read kanji or any sort of Asian characters. Here, the only marking we have is SLD Magic, which is the type of steel. As far as I know, that core is up to 62 HRC, and it is used on a great many of the North Mountain products, folding knives as well as the fixed blades. So I probably would be remiss not to measure this monster. It is actually just shy of 15 inches overall, and a blade of 9.5 inches, a cutting edge of just a wee bit over 9 inches, 9.1, let's call it. And in getting out the caliper in inches, let's start with the handle. It's a contoured handle, so it's rounded. So 0.90 is going to be very misleading because we have almost a rounded handle, but not quite. It's oval enough so you can feel where the edge is, and I like that concept. The blade stock is an amazingly thick 1/4 inch, okay? Yes, 1/4 inch. We go back to the handle here, and since I've been doing millimeters lately, it is 22.5 millimeters, and the blade stock 6.5 millimeters. Pretty incredible. By the way, look at the point. That is not a frail point, folks, but that is diamond-shaped piercy, and you've got plenty of meat out there. All right, we'll get out the scale and see if I can fit her on here. And we're going to start with grams. Here we are. And blade, that is knife alone, 380 point. Wow, it's moving around, isn't it? That's pretty interesting. Look at that thing creep. What's going on here? All right, let's try this again. 198.39. No, I'm sorry. Grams. 1983.9 grams. There we go. And 200. What am I doing? Something's off here, folks. Sorry about that. All right. Erase out of your minds what I just said. Still creeping around a little bit. Maybe because I'm touching the table. 396.8 grams, which is, there we go. Call that 14 ounces. All right. Whew. Did it. Something about the size or the weight it was having a hard time with. Could be the battery. Don't know. But there you have the specs on this. It feels amazing. We're not going to do a handle balance here because we've got a handle that is, what? 5.5 inches, 5.25 inches versus a blade that's 9.5 inches. So yes, it's going to be blade heavy. It's rather sword-like, but it is a beauty. I mean, if you're looking for a Tanto that is more traditional, that is the one. And let's get a few other things out here. For fun, here is a recently acquired custom because it's limited run, of a small Tanto by North Mountain, also with the SLD Magic blade, 3-layer blade, done in a very similar fashion, but with a little different geometry on the blade, rather stick-like handle, reminiscent of some knives that had a wooden handle and a wooden sheath and looked like a stick in the Tanto. There are many different types of Tantos, even amongst the Japanese Tantos. Here is one that a lot of folks like, including Bob DeMarco, my good buddy, the knife junkie. This is a Trezuola design by Savivi, and this is the Tamashii. This is more likely what you'll see in a short knife, a Tanto. However, the swedge is a bit more than you normally see, and they usually didn't stop that swedge and create a thumb platform. So that part is modern, but the shape of the blade very much reminiscent of traditional Tantos. Now, from our good friends at Cold Steel, here is the Kobun, a very popular Tanto in a slimmer form factor than the original Tanto. Original Tanto came out around 1984 to 86. I actually did an article for Lynn Thompson in, I think it was Inside Kung Fu magazine, where the Tanto and the Balisong were all the rage back then in the mid 80s. And Lynn had just come out with his traditional Tanto, well, his mainstay, his Tanto, and it had this kind of point. So the reason I have this, and I don't have the original still, is you can see the difference. And if I zoom in here, you can see the slight difference in point. We have more of an angle to the Cold Steel Tanto, and a little more roundedness here in the North Mountain Tanto. This being somewhat more traditional, and you would see this on the katanas is how it's pronounced, from Japan. But hollow here, flat here, same thing, hollow here and flat there. I believe this is, yeah, that's hollow. Obvious difference in the blade. Many Tantos were, and if you look at the Columbia River Hiso, I believe it's Hiso, that James Williams designed, it will be very much something like this, with this gradual upward rake of the blade. Come back out here a bit. Here we have the chop, the button lock chop, which was one of the first ones that North Mountain came out with. This one being in aluminum bronze, very heavy stuff. It's more bronze than aluminum. But there again, you can see their take on the Tanto point. More rounded and less square. It's up to you to determine what is better. James Williams has a number of videos out there on YouTube showing penetration tests, and there is one. I'll see if I can send you the link or put it in the description, that is, of him doing penetration tests on plywood, on plywood with all manner of different Tanto points. And it's interesting to watch. So you come to your own conclusions. Certainly there is a reason if you're going to have the more, where did I put it now? Oh yeah. If you're going to have the more obtuse point, if we could say that, that point is going to be very strong, okay? But you can see, especially with all the thickness there, we've got an equally strong point on this more traditional Tanto. And there's so many Tanto variants out there. And by the way, it is Tanto and not Tanto. Ask any Japanese. It is Tanto, but it's up to you. I know it sounds like Tonto, like the masked friend's friend there, Tanto, Hio Silver. Lone Ranger. Lone Ranger. Wow, that's an old one from the 50s. Here is a Columbia River knife designed by James Williams. And this one is the, no, that's not the one. Here it is. HZ6 stands for Hira Zukuri. And that is a whole different style of, some would argue that it's not a Tanto. It is a Hira Zukuri. And it has that very long, pointy, tapered point. You can argue whether or not that point is frangible. It's going to break. But I've seen him drive this through cardboard as well as car doors with no damage to the tip. The steel on that one is SK5, I think. And that is a non-stainless steel. Yeah, SK5 carbon steel. You can freeze frame that one. Paying tribute to the Hira Zukuri. Okay. So this is way different than your even traditional Tanto point. But this allows for an incredible penetration of soft objects as well as tall hard objects. I'm losing words today, guys. Yeah, maybe it's too early. Anyway, these are interesting. I did a review on everything that you saw on the table. Let's talk a minute about the beautiful sheath of Kydex. So obviously not traditional. It's not a wooden sheath with a wrap on it as you would normally see from a fully traditional knife. I do have another coming in they refer to as the Ninja. It's going to have a more of a Western style leather sheath, but it's quite nice. Nice thick Kydex here. Really nice. They give you this belt loop, kind of like what Spyderco does on some of their fixed blades, but it actually has a hook on it and will stay on the belt, and also, I haven't loosened the screw there, but will rotate. So if you wanted to, you could put this at an angle on the belt. You could ride it in a shoulder rig. You could carry this in a lot of different ways. You could put a leather loop there, stuff it down into like the back kidney area, like you might carry a pistol. A lot of ways to do it. Taco style sheath, and the fit, really nice. Little bit of rattle, so you may not be sneaking up on anybody, but you know, it's fine. And they give you a tunnel here. Make sure I get everything in the frame. It's so big. You can easily push that off should you want to, all right? Or simply yank it out. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grommet holes. So you got a lot of options. But you're carrying a 15-inch knife, guys, you know? So you may not want to just, you know, tuck it down in your pants. Let's put them all out there on the table. There we go. Hope you enjoyed this review of the, let's get the name for you again because it's complicated. The Chop Plus 15-inch classic Japanese Tanto tactical knife in SLD Magic and Black G10, as I'm reading from the North Mountain site. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. Be well. Take care. And $300 for this. Not cheap, but I think worth every penny. Great job they did on it. Fantastic. And if I didn't mention, oh, we're going to do a cutting test. Why am I cutting out so early? Speaking of cutting, this tang goes all the way down to about here. So it's a full tang that is inserted, as far as I can see. It's not two pieces. It's all one piece handle. It is inserted and then screwed into place. And I would imagine you could take these out and slide the blade out. You just have to be careful. We're going to do some cutting. And I already tried this out. I know we're going to have some good results. So for a 1/4 inch thick blade, it is sharp. Ain't going to have no trouble cutting stuff with that and keeping the bad guys away. Set it up this way. There you go. Enjoy. Right now, you'll see my logo over here. Don't forget to click on that if you haven't subscribed to the channel. I just hit 12,000. That's not too bad. And hope we get more of you guys subscribing. Click that if you haven't subscribed, and you can subscribe. Be well. Take care. Stay safe.